Hey kiddies, it's time to go live on another bicycle live stream on Sunday, 21st of November at 6:40 a.m. I've ridden 37 kilometres all the way up to Emerald Lakes and I'm starting the journey home. And this morning's topic is, what's the most important lesson I've ever learnt? This is the conclusion of a three-part series of live streams that started a bit over a month ago when I talked about the third most important lesson that I've ever learnt, and then I followed it up 2 weeks later with the second most important, and now I'm back 3 weeks later with the most important. So let's recap in case you haven't seen the previous two live streams, or in case you don't want to wait to watch them on YouTube. They are on YouTube, of course. So the third most important lesson that I've ever learnt is that our emotions come from within us. That no one else controls our emotions, no one else makes us happy or sad. Your emotions come from within you. The second most important lesson I've ever learnt is that you are not your body. Every day you will be put in a state of illusion, believing that you are the body, but you are the soul, and the body is a vehicle that you are traveling in. And not only as an extension of that are you not your body, nor are you your thoughts or emotions. So that's the second most important lesson I've learnt, which is very empowering and is one that is regularly needed to, it's one that we regularly need to remind ourselves of, because of how easily we are caught in this illusionary world and this false body identification. So what's the most important lesson? Well, the most important lesson is an extension of the understanding that we are not the body, and that our thoughts emanate from within us, our emotions emanate from within us. And this most important lesson that I've learnt was, when I learnt it, and still is of course, the key that unlocks all understanding. The key that instantly makes it possible to see why every living being acts the way that it does, and not just humans but animals as well, even trees and other nature. This lesson is something I've spoken about before, but it is something again that we need to be reminded of regularly, because it is so profound that we dismiss it as not being possible, as not being the answer, as being too simple. As you know, I've heard people criticize and say, oh well, you just can't simplify things like that. It's like, well, that's your mind talking. Your mind needs to be active and complicating things and looking for something deeper so that it's kept active. But the most important lesson that I've ever learnt, when you look at the world through the eyes of this understanding, when you have a look at the way that people are living their lives, you gain an amazing insight, a fresh perspective, a power that gives you an unfair advantage, I guess you could say. And it also answers every question that you could possibly have about other people's motivations, and also about our own motivations, the ones that we are consciously aware of and the ones that we keep hidden from ourselves for the games that we play. So, what is the most important lesson I've ever learnt? It is this simple. It is one word. It is love. And you're going to go, oh yeah, well of course, yeah, I knew that. You did. But your mind took that understanding of love and applied all the worldly concepts to it and all the material understandings of love, and you immediately gave it a value in relation to your experience around what you think is love, or more correctly, what your mind thinks is love. Now, when I say it is so powerful, this understanding of love, I'm talking about love beyond that which is described or portrayed in modern media and ancient media, in books and films and music. What we come to use the word love to describe is most of the time not love. It is lust. It is a material energy. It's a very low vibration. It's doomed to failure. It doesn't serve us any good. No, I'm not talking about that. So if you're thinking, oh yeah, love is the answer and I've got to love my enemies more and all the rest, it's no, it's not about that at all. I'm talking about a depth of understanding that comes from spiritual love. And you're going to go, yeah, what's spiritual love? Well, spiritual love, to put it in a way that your mind and my mind can comprehend it, goes beyond the comprehension of the mind. So we have to try and define it within our own mindset boundaries. Spiritual love is best described as unconditional love, as the absolute deepest need that every living being has. That if you are hungry, you want food. Once you get that food, you're satisfied for a while. If you're homeless, you want a shelter. Once you get that shelter, you become satisfied for a while. If you're lonely, you want friends or a partner. Once you have that, you feel satisfied for a while. The spiritual love I'm talking about is way deeper than that. And whilst it's nice on a material level to have friends and a partner and a safe home and, you know, things that make it easier for us in this body, whilst that's nice, it's not fulfilling the spiritual love craving that every living being has. Now, I've said many times that everyone needs to love and be loved. And again, this is part of this foundational desire, but I'm talking about it on a spiritual level. As nice as it is to have a comfortable, loving experience on a material level, it is so limited in relation to what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actual spiritual love. I'm talking about the heart reconnecting with its source. I'm talking about the child coming back to its true home, not the illusionary home that we're in. I'm talking about the true home. I'm talking about something so deep that when you experience it, when you understand it, you will look at others and yourself and have an immediate answer, as I say, to the motivations and the questions as to why we behave the way we do in often illogical ways. You will come to understand that the reason, the motivation for everyone's behavior, everyone, there's no exceptions, the motivation for everyone's behavior is that our deepest need is this spiritual love. We are forever hungry for it, and we cannot be on any level ever satisfied until we are connecting with this spiritual love. the proof of the pudding, and I mean, it's so, hang on, let me just change it. I was going to say the proof of the pudding, but it's so entrenched that it goes right back to the Garden of Eden. It goes right back to being in a state of bliss, and then being tempted away from that by false promises made by a certain serpent, and then following those false promises and finding that they are false and that we're not happy. So that goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden, and has that mistake of falling for the illusion has been happening ever since then, and continues to happen every day to all of us. We continue to believe a lie, but foundationally we need to rest in spiritual love. We need to go back to our true home, and this is certainly not our true home. We need to find that shelter. That was a big dog, very big dog. We need to find that shelter, and we need to find a peace in that shelter. And that shelter is within, and those who connect with that shelter fully are so at peace that they can be in a state of complete persecution. They can be hung from a cross, and instead of getting angry at the people that are persecuting them, they actually ask for forgiveness for them. I wonder if these lights will change. Yes. So they will, a person in that state of complete connection is in a state of absolute faith and understanding and acceptance of what is happening, knowing that everything is happening perfectly from a foundation of spiritual love. So spiritual love is reconnecting what is already there within us, connecting the two parts back together, I guess you could say, cleansing the little divide between us. Spiritual love is like, on the outside we take a shower and we cleanse our physical body. On the inside we cleanse our spiritual connection, and we start to get closer to that deepest desire. So the proof of the pudding, as I was going to say a couple of minutes ago, is that we can have everything that we think that will make us happy. We can have the money and the goodies and the successful life, and we will still be miserable. And there's so many examples of people that the more successful they become, the more miserable they become. Just have a look at some of these, I was going to say some of these bankers or some of these businessmen that are, that basically have obscene amounts of money, and they're holding their jaws so tight because they're not at peace. They're in the opposite of peace. They're in a state of needing to try and hang on to something that they're afraid of losing. They're in a state of fear. So what I wish for you is that you are able to connect with the simplest answer to the motivation behind all of our actions. Why we do everything we do is because we want to rest in a shelter of spiritual love. And we are doing everything we can to get there. And unfortunately, we're looking for it in all the wrong places. But so wonderful is spiritual love and so unconditional is spiritual love, that no matter how many times we turn away from spiritual love, no matter how many times we think we know where the answer is, no matter how many times our mind tempts us and says in the Garden of Eden, try this fruit or whatever it was, no matter how many times we are tempted away from our source forgives us and understands, because that is the highest understanding there is spiritual love. It's the highest understanding. It's the most comforting. It's the most peaceful. It is everything to the highest level is spiritual love. You'll know when you connect with it, because you will find a peace that is indescribable by the mind, and that cannot be basically cannot be comprehended by the mind. And that peace will allow you to see the world through different eyes, will allow you to instantly understand why people do the crazy things they do. So I hope that's helped. I hope you continue your journey on your spiritual path and live vegan and save lives and enjoy this day. Ahimsa.